Hope everybody is able to hear me out. Okay, I would request everybody on VC to be on mute please and reserve your questions for the end. Okay, a warm welcome to everybody present here. I am Indira Tanwar, I am from the iGATE KM team, and the agenda for the day is as below. We have a presentation by Mr. Vijay Kaulgud, who is from the Associate Director Delivery Innovation Team iGATE, and he is going to present on innovation and knowledge management. After that, we'll have a small 5 minutes break, and then we have a presentation from Mr. Madhukar Kalsapura. He is presenting on the topic Unlearning for Innovation and Growth using KM. After that, we are going to head to the 8th floor conference room, wherein we will have a brainstorming session on problem of plenty, which will be facilitated by Mr. Vijay Kaulgud, and we'll also have some refreshments there. So, to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Vijay Kaulgud. Mr. Vijay Kaulgud has around 19 years of experience, including 13 years in the IT industry and rest in manufacturing sector. Vijay is instrumental in building a strong innovation ecosystem in iGATE. He conducts the annual innovation contests and leads proliferation of impactful innovations throughout the organization. He is an expert in developing transformation framework and driving excellence using process improvement, operations management and innovation. He has done his Masters of Management from IIT Bombay's School of Management and is a BE in Mechanical from Mumbai University. Very glad to have you with us today, Vijay. And our second speaker for today is Mr. Madhukar Kalsapura, who is the CEO of a startup known as Novature. So Madhukar has over 17 years of experience with reputed organizations, and he has led strategic programs in various areas of change management, digital asset strategies, innovation management, knowledge management, information management, and so on. His experience spans across various areas like media broadcasting, telecom, IT, power and infrastructure industries. He has worked and managed global teams across US, Europe, Scandinavia and South Asia. He has studied strategic management at IIMC, and he is a PhD in mathematical models in knowledge management and master in mathematics. He has delivered several conference keynote addresses at NIT, IIMs and IISc. He is passionate about mathematics, Hindustani classical music and knowledge management. Welcome and thanks for being here with us. Some of the participating companies today for the K-Café with us today here are from Accenture, Khaitan & Company, NMIMS, Innoin and Volta India. We are expecting a few more people, so we'll in the meantime begin with our agenda for the day. So over to you.
Thank you. I'll just move this to the presentation mode. And it's really a pleasure being here in this forum discussing with all the industry stalwarts and talking about knowledge management. So rest assured, I'm not going to talk. This is going to be a discussion more than me just saying something and you listening to it. We have not invited you to listen. So you would like to hear a lot, and I think this should set up the agenda for the brainstorming session that we would be having later in the day. Okay. So innovation and knowledge management. I don't think without knowledge management. What we would be ending up doing is just reinventing the wheel, right? You will all agree. So unless we know what is happening elsewhere, we would end up spending a lot of our resources in doing the same thing again and again. And if you really look at the ecosystem, it could be really at the project level, it could be at the program level, accounts, as we all might know, business unit, even the organization, and really take it beyond that, as a country, as an industry, or even as humanity, if you really believe in that ancient aliens. You see that? So if you really think about that, what we would end up doing without knowledge management is just utilize all the resources, doing the same thing again and again, reinventing the wheel and saying that, all the resources are gone, So knowledge management plays an important role in each and every phase of this innovation lifecycle phase, To put it simply, let us take this the challenge, identifying challenge, or focused ideation, evaluating ideas, develop solutions, and implementing solutions. Today, where you see most of knowledge management happening, in which phase? You would see once a solution is developed, that is codified, correct? That is put in the knowledge management system that we have, and we expect people to go there, find those solutions, and use or reuse those solutions in their ecosystems, could be project or programs, whatever they might be having. What is very, very important is to have these knowledge management aspects in each phase of this. So for example, identifying challenges. Many of us identify a lot of challenges, but we don't share our challenges, do we? And the moment we start sharing these challenges, we would actually empathize with others who are facing the same challenge, and those like-minded guys can actually come together to have those focused ideation. Otherwise, today what is happening is it is very, very specific to an individual. So a very small part of this organization is actually thinking, correct? Because we are not involving them at this phase. Then you come towards the focused ideation. Again, ideation is probably done, and you had those large R&D organizations where it was all closed R&D. Now we are moving towards open innovation and crowdsourcing. We'll have a look at that as well. But that is precisely the point, correct? What we want to have is involve each and everybody to ensure that we accelerate innovation using all these knowledge management strategies that we have. You have to avoid reinventing the wheel. It improves collaboration. And when I say accelerates innovation, what I want to say is, if these innovations are made available, you can piggyback on those innovations, right? So you have a platform which acts as a springboard, and you can take it from there. So without all this, this can be provided by our knowledge management. And I won't say again, Madhukar will actually have a lot of things to talk about here in terms of unlearning. But see, knowledge management need not be looked as the system that we have implemented, correct? And we talked about this as an entire process of knowledge management. Look at on the right hand side what you have here. Today, the knowledge management, what we typically do is people doing knowledge management, right? Look at Internet of Things coming up, and look at Internet of Everything coming up at the horizon. So where is this knowledge going to reside tomorrow? The entire focus might actually shift from people to things. And do you think that will be a better thing? Because changing people is more difficult than changing things, right? Yeah? So if you really look at that, I would say that if we go towards Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, if knowledge starts residing into those things, instead of people, it's going to be a completely different way of managing it. There is a shift that is going to happen, and I think we all need to be gearing for that, right? Having said that, let us take an example of this. Knowledge management takes away this myopic view of challenges, and what we want to really say here is, innovation happens at the intersection of knowledge, and this knowledge could be from different fields, different disciplines, different areas. It could be different domains. So this is a classic example which I really like. When we say that old Vijay wanted to have a building to be built in Zimbabwe, Harare, which is a very hot place, right? And they gave this challenge to his architect, McPierce, saying that I want it at minimum cost. The air conditioning should be at minimum cost. What do you think the approach that typically you would have taken? Talk to engineers, talk to air conditioning engineers, for example, talk to some of the architects to ensure that the vents are like this, and losses are minimal, and the heat transfer happens better. Now this person actually got knowledge from termites, if I may call it so. The mounts that they really prepared ensures that the vents are directed such a way that whichever or whatever temperature is there outside, inside it's a constant temperature for their food. Okay? Now look at that. This is an extreme example. Now once you see this is the Eastgate building, by the way, in Harare. You can Google it and you can find it. The interesting thing is, wow, this happened. So why don't we have similar buildings elsewhere more often? Is the next obvious question that I think we should have. Probably they're waiting for this is a POC and they're waiting for the success story to come. But again, adopting is something which is very, very difficult. The not invented here syndrome is so prevalent, I think, at least in IT industry. In manufacturing, you can actually implement and the mass production takes care of the entire thing. The processes are pretty well set. But here, being in knowledge, we have individuals, and these individuals need to be changed, making them think beyond their area and going and talking to somebody else from a different field is very, very difficult. I think that is the softer side of knowledge management. And that is a big challenge that we have. But things like this actually should inspire us to go beyond whatever we know and respect the knowledge that is already available elsewhere. The Medici effect. Many of you might have really read this book, but this actually Medici was a family who used to call a lot of different people from different background to ideate. Now this forum or forums like these, I would say, where people from different backgrounds, different industry comes together, I think this is where the powerhouse of knowledge. This is where knowledge should evolve. And I think the brainstorming session that the KM team has planned is one such attempt to ensure that we are able to derive as an industry, as an organization, as a country, that we can take it up. Okay? So here, when you step into an intersection of fields, disciplines or cultures, you can combine existing concepts into a large number of extraordinary new ideas. And then you have two types of ideas. I won't go into the incremental and radical part of it. But tell me, whenever you have an idea and this idea is shared with somebody, if somebody dislikes this idea, what do we typically do? We don't talk to them for the next so many days, right? But is that right? Probably they are coming up with some different perspective. There is something else that they might not have said in so many words. They bring in some different knowledge. They probably might have experienced that this might not work in the scenario that we have, or they might ask you so many questions, right? And you feel, man, this guy is asking so many questions, he doesn't want to take it ahead. But what he's trying to do is trying to understand. Correct? He comes from a different background, he or she, I would say. This is intersection. And the perseverance really would pay. Okay? If you take the example of, there are a lot of examples that typically comes to your mind. NASA or even in military, there are so many things that are coming up. And if you just take whatever invention happens there and apply it in different domains or areas, that becomes huge innovations. So there, it is not that you have to invent always. You just have to apply. And again, if you go back to your the innovation life cycle, when we say we implement solutions and I say identify more and better areas for enhanced value, what we are really saying is don't look at that solution from that specific scenario. It could be applied in various different scenarios. Okay, it could be in a completely different way, and that is something that we have to identify. That is what knowledge management can accelerate and has the potential to accelerate. Won't you believe in this big problem, the MQ problem, right? So it's only me, myself and my mind, and I don't know whether it is the Indian education system that says that whenever anything comes to you, it is just you have to have your blinkers and just look at the question paper, have the answers coming only from your mind. We don't talk to anybody.
No, I think in my experience it's throughout the world.
It's throughout the world. And that is why you see that the school or the college dropouts are able to come up with much better things.
In fact, I used to tell the French people that a French man will accept a new idea as long as it comes from another Frenchman.
Look at that. Yeah. So that's a very good thing. See, I don't know whether it really makes sense for a school dropout and college dropout to have an open mind, to look elsewhere, to look everywhere probably, and then say, oh man, why don't we do this? And we can do that. Here, otherwise, it's all me, myself, and my mind, and I don't talk to anybody, I do not collaborate with anybody, and this, mind you, is happening at each and every level in the organization as well. Why don't we share? How free are we to share our problems with somebody else and say, hey, you know what, I have a problem, I really can't understand this, I don't know the solution, can you help? We don't accept that this is a good thing to have. We have to change from here. And without questioning ourselves, without going beyond the boundaries that we have for ourselves, innovation won't happen. Getting my point? And that is where you have those concepts like open innovation and crowdsourcing, which is actually breaking the barriers. So tomorrow you are going to have today in fact I would say that at least people are reaching out to their employees. But tomorrow, even beyond the employees, people are reaching out to everybody. Correct? Anywhere in the world that you could really come up with any information. And what they are doing is actually mining knowledge. The knowledge that is available elsewhere, beyond the organization. And why should I confine myself to the ecosystem that I have made for myself? Today, social media is actually equipping you to do it much easier, much faster, and probably much better as well. Okay? So this is one thing that I think is going to be the way in which knowledge is going to be mined. The thing is, the next thing, and I am sure we have all those knowledge management strategies to really organize it and then make it available at the right time, correct, to the right people. Crowdsourcing, again on the similar lines. Why we are saying that the knowledge of developing a solution or coming up with a solution remains only with the organization. It could be really coming up from anywhere else. So these are some of the examples that I have. Starbucks idea, I mean, if you have really gone here, you or anybody has the power to share an idea to Starbucks. Okay, you can browse through it, and what Starbucks achieves is so many ideas. They actually get to know what their customers are expecting. Right? The next one, unsweetened organic coconut milk. I mean, I don't think that their research department might have even thought about something like this. But they get to see this, and it's being voted. Correct? So people also know whether it is a positive thing or they don't like it. And if somebody doesn't like it, it could be on a menu, you just don't order it. So that could be another thing. Lactose-free milk option, and you might see 25,000 points already there. So there is a huge demand for it already. And this knowledge is about the consumer behavior or the customer behavior is being mined. And what happens after this is this information, you can then come up with your own ideas, your own innovations, your own solutions. Correct? Do a cost-benefit analysis later on as to how you are going to take care of your supply chain, whether this makes sense to my brand or is it going to cannibalize my product and so on and so forth. But that could be the later part of it. At least you have a platform to start with. We all know Cisco's iPrice as well. The next $1 million business unit, they are not expecting from anybody else, but anybody who has the knowledge or who has some idea in which they can prepare this business case and propose that, hey, I am taking this challenge and this is the potential of my idea. So what happens? Okay. So again, what I'm saying is there is immense knowledge that is available inside the organization and outside the organization. This is another example of free of cost innovation really happening using the knowledge of college students. Actually, and this happened when GE wanted to have something which was to be implemented in South Africa. So they gave this as a project. So there's immense potential available with us. It's just that we have to use it to come up with new and better solutions. New and better innovations, I would say. Not taking much of your time, we can really put innovation as a set of these interacting knowledge processes. The most important thing, by the way, is knowing what we know. Correct? We might really see a lot of things. So the Google example is a classic example, I would say. You know, when Sergey Brin and Larry Page were doing their PhD, they went to their guide and asked for those papers. The guide said, I have already uploaded this on the internet, why don't you find it? And this is the title. They went there, they searched for it. The search result was on the third page. In some cases, the last on the first page. And they said, well, this should not be the case. But there were so many other PhD students, there were so many users of that internet search engine who said we were okay with it. Because they never thought that there was a problem. So us realizing that this is not the way it should be. There has to be a better way. You will have to know what you know. You will have to know what you don't know. Okay? Identifying and sharing problems or challenges. Absorption of existing knowledge from external and internal environment. And this is a major challenge, right? We all have knowledge management systems. There are so many thousands of documents that are really existing there, right? Interesting, I'll share one survey that I just came across, and they said the average reading of one paper, a white paper, you know what it is? It is 0.7, including the author. Okay, so you know how many people are really reading it.
Just goes through it.
Correct. So that is the fact. I mean, it might not be 0.7, it might be more, probably in some of the cases. In some of the cases, it might be really less. But that is the average of the readership of the documents that probably we have. Or I'm not saying documents, it could be any knowledge in any format that we really have. How can we make it applicable and relevant to the users? How do we motivate them to say, absorb this knowledge which is already there, do not go beyond this to again reinvent or redevelop something that is already available. Correct? Creation of knowledge, new knowledge through creative thinking and interchange of ideas, rapid diffusion of ideas. I mean, even this is like fail easy, fail fast and fail early. Correct? So you go with your idea and meet somebody who has the knowledge, and you say, oh, you know what, this doesn't work. Why don't you look at another way? Well, that is a good thing to have. Even that is required as a part of your knowledge. Validation, refining and managing of ideas, matching of creative ideas with unmet customer needs. So when you have ideas, so many ideas that really doesn't see the light of the day is because, well, it's good to have, but not that somebody is waiting for it. Correct? So there are so many things that we don't think as a technology, this can really improve. This is the next panacea of all ills, but it really fails when it hits the road. Why is that so? So there are a lot of reasons behind that as well, and we need to capture that and manage this knowledge, give this knowledge to the guys who are really doing it in the innovation pipeline. And of course, encapsulating and codifying knowledge into an appropriate form. So this, and I would really like to have your views on this as well. We will be discussing more in the session later on. But do we all agree that there is a problem of plenty also? Yeah, we are bombarded with a lot of information. And then there is this poem, where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? And where is the information lost in data? T.S. Eliot, when this poem was written, this was written in 1934. Hey, do you think it's still relevant here today? It still is, right? Yeah, so again, so have you experienced this? Half of managers can't cope with data they receive. We have so many global mails. I'm sure each and every organization has so many global mails. What is the readership of those mails? How many people really read it? Forget reading. How many really have taken the pay to say that, okay, this makes sense. Let me really file it somewhere. So whenever I have something in this area, I can actually go there and seek it. 2/3 said they needed detailed level of information, but believed information was already underutilized. But still, I want more. So these are the things which is a fact of life. Now, how do we improve from here? And that is what something that we will discuss later on. But I am just sharing this so you start thinking about it. 50% felt that acquiring information distracted from their main job responsibilities. Information overload, lessen job satisfaction. Interesting. Because people think, oh, I don't know a lot of things. There is so much. For example, if I have to take the case of Java, there's so many things that are happening in the open source or freeware world that I just ignore it because I feel that I don't know so many things. This is a really very interesting way people think, and this is a fact. And I'll leave you with this. Henry Ford, a classic example, I would say, which he has actually put, saying that I invented nothing new. What I did was, I just simply assembled the discoveries of other men behind whom were centuries of work. What we have to do to ensure that the centuries of, or even years of, or months of work is put in such a way that it is actionable for somebody who is seeking this knowledge. That's it. I won't take much of your time. That is what I want to share. Anything, any questions that you might have?
What is the effect when you have like Starbucks is putting up, and asking people to vote on new products. I think in our country, people are very skeptical, companies are very skeptical because they say that if there's something new that is possibly an area where we could come out with a new product, then somebody else would steal the idea.
Yeah.
So that is a threat, but I like the way Starbucks is just, and many organizations have really opened it up.
Absolutely.
And let it be on the network. So
I think that is one constant question which I also come face. People say, okay, I share my idea. What if that idea is taken by someone? So my challenge to them is, show me one such case.
Correct. Absolutely. People don't understand it.
Show me one such case where somebody has stolen an idea and made it big. It is impossible. The passion you have for the idea, you fathered that idea, mothered that idea in the first place, gives you so much of an edge over the rest of the world that if you got an idea which is unique, then you are destined to complete it. I have not come across a single case till now. And I think today we have to understand, IP is dead. Patenting is something which we need to unlearn today. For the simple fact that if Intel had patented their first chip, they would not have invented the next one. Since they gave it away to the world and asked competitors to come in, what happened was Intel felt challenged. AMD challenged Intel to come out with a very similar chip. So to keep their place in the market, they had to invent something better, and that went on. I think that's the differentiator. I come across this question always, and this is the question I have for everybody.
That is absolutely right. In fact, people, see, when we talk about solutions or knowledge, they only know the what part of it, but they don't know the why part of it. Why have they come up with something like this? Where can they apply? Why did they thought about this? What was the life cycle? And hence, they only see the result. And it is very difficult for us to really take it or, as I say, copy it. So what we have to understand is the meaning behind it, the reasons of whys and wheres and hows of it. So good.
I think when we were talking about the papers, that nobody reads and all that, the whole idea is that we try to do sort of research on similar areas in different corporates. So I had the privilege to interview Dr. Subroto Baki for one of our magazines. He was mentioning that our research, the type of research that we do in India is not at all respected. The reason being that we may be learning or doing some research in two areas in the corporate world, and it is like having a Mari biscuit from two competitors, but it's not adding value. Actual value, if you want to add, it is at the bottom of the pyramid. You should be seeing how that thelawala or that the person there does his work. I think there is a lot of learning that comes from there. And why we don't do it? Because we do not have respect for content. So that is the passion that you talked of. Unless you have a passion for content, you will not actually come up with something that is new. And then I asked him a question on what is the knowing-doing gap. And he beautifully put it into 4 sentences. He said, knowing before you do. So what should you know before you do? What should you know as you do? Doing as you know, okay, and doing to know. So that is the actually essence of knowledge management. He said. I think in 4 sentences he beautifully put the whole thing. That was a very interesting interview that I had with him. He's a very knowledgeable person.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a case study on Mindtree by Harvard Business Review. It is on their communities of practice. HBR has come out with a case on that. So there's a lot of learning that can happen, and this particular thing actually I liked so much. I started then looking at various aspects in knowledge management and trying to say, yes, this is what we do actually, right? All the while. And you
I
were
think I'm
talking
not,
of something, where you said know, people know but they don't want to share. So I think one of the essence of knowledge management is helping knowers share what they know they know.
Yeah.
Okay. The other part is helping knowers share what they do not know they know.
Absolutely.
So
I
there are
think
some
that's the
people who
biggest
do not
challenge.
even know that they have knowledge to be shared, and that is the challenge that we have.
Correct. So knowing what you know is very, very important, and knowing what you don't know.
Huh.
So it's
I
That
think-
that is the most important part.
I think if you construct a classic Johari window
oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
of know what you know what you don't know,
Hmm.
I think that's where you see the biggest gap.
Yes.
The more and more expertise you acquire, the less and less you tend to assume what you know.
Yes.
I mean, for an expert, it is easy. I mean, it's like asking.
You feel it's not knowledge
Yeah, it's not
anyway.
required. I mean, why is he asking for such a simple thing?
Yes.
So a lot of things get taken for granted.
Hmm.
But one thing that brings out people's knowledge is when you ask, you've got this feature, ask an expert or ask a question. That's when people actually, when they look at the answers coming in, they say, no, I need to add. And then you realize, yes, this person is a storehouse of knowledge. Then they'll answer it. And so that's when you discover people in the organization who have
Knowing
pockets of
something,
excellence. Yes.
Absolutely, I think one of the things which is a tactical intervention in knowledge management is taking people from finance for 3 or 4 days and putting them with marketing guys. Actually, they watch what the marketing guy does day in and day out for the 4 days. And all the marketing guy does is document what are the questions which are coming out from this finance. And similar thing happens, somebody in operations goes and sits in finance, and that can be a huge repository of FAQs, frequently asked questions, which marketing will have never thought about those kind of questions, the finance will have never thought about those kind of questions. And that can be the beginning for building your repositories. But then the question comes from top management, will I waste 4 days of this guy to go and sit there? But what you are not understanding, it's not 4 days of this guy, but the entire 4,000 people organization being benefited by these questions.
Well, another interesting
That's
thing is differentiating between investment and expenses. So
No, the point here is what you are mentioning is the functional silos to process. We have moved on the technical side from function to process. That is, we streamlined it through maybe an ERP where we are looking at it process and remove the silos. But in terms of knowledge sharing, we are still in the silo area. Only data moves from one function to the other, but the knowledge doesn't move.
Vijay, you also spoke about the problem of plenty, right? So consider a large organization which has 100,000 employees. There, if the sharing is happening even at 5%, lot of document, lot of information is getting created. So how is there a solution that that information can be contextualized and passed to relevant people at the right time? Because if the information is not passed to the person when it's required,
Yeah.
the utility is lost.
absolutely. So that is what I want to say here. We need to ensure right information is made available to right person at the right time. What we do, or what I would say is, we ensure that all information is made available to all people at all the time. That becomes problematic. So correct. So what you just said has a solution inside, where you say you contextualize it and you make it available when they want it. The question is, how do you identify this? I think that is what we have to discuss. That is what the solution would be, and that would be something like the way. It would be the way of the future. So if you get a solution, that is it.
So the point is, if you get information and pass it on to everybody or data, we are in a, I think, basically situation of analysis paralysis. Right? That's the problem of mode that you said, right? We are having too much, and even if you say we give all this information to everybody, again the information becomes too much. So I don't know where to really look for it. So what he is actually basically saying is give the right information at the right time. Is somebody has to actually sieve it out and say, okay, as he is doing the task, he gets that task.
That is precisely the thing.
So how to do that is the biggest question.
Is the thing that
And with
Exactly,
AI,
I feel that recently I read that in the newspaper that everybody is encouraging social nowadays social collaboration so much that we are actually worried about whether we are going to find the correct information when we want or not. It is actually
Because some analysts are saying that Google is becoming a junkyard. There is so much information upload onto Google that in 5 years of time, if you are looking for something, there are chances you may not find it because it's suppressed within years. 10 years earlier, it might be easier to find that information.
No, the
Google
reason
is
for that,
upgrading constantly, I guess.
Recently
Yeah,
came
not
out
only that.
with
I think our inherent loss of faith in what the common man says is the problem. The moment you talk about Google and its authenticity, you think about medical knowledge. Can somebody else give me any other example? The first thing which comes to our mind is, yes, I'm looking for the symptoms of a particular disease and I get something written by a common man. That is because doctors are not participating.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. The moment doctors, see, there is expert knowledge and there is common knowledge. If all the doctors in the world today participated, Google would still give you the right information. The problem is not about lot of information. The problem is about the filtering mechanism.
Right.
We don't have the right filtering mechanism. So instead of doctors writing articles on a particular disease, we have every Tom, Dick and Harry writing it, and that's exactly, Google doesn't produce anything at the end of the day. It's only an interface. And today with the technologies available, okay, by looking at who is given the data in what context, you can actually rank it much higher. So the first 10 pages of Google will be the articles which are written by the experts in the domain. I think that's where that large amount of participation is required, and we still haven't hit that critical mass. That's where the real problem is. We don't face this problem in a lot of other domains.
See, I was in one of the hospitals. I was at that time teaching knowledge management, and I had to be in a hospital for some reason. So as I was sitting down there, I was thinking of knowledge management. I asked the doctor, I said, you are doing this very intricate operation. How do you retain this knowledge? One thing is you call all the junior doctors and they watch you, but then it is only restricted to that junior thing. Now, this particular case was a very unique case, which was there from birth but never seen, and at this stage it became so important to be removed because people didn't know whether it was malignant or not, in spite of so many tests that were done. So it was a very unique case. Now he says, see, we do not have time to do anything. We do not have time to write. The only thing that we do is have a seminar and write a paper. Okay, now the paper, as you say, has got drowned into so much of other papers that somebody cannot retrieve that exact paper whenever he wants.
Right.
So it doesn't reach him
Correct.
whenever he requires it. That is the problem that you have. So he perhaps writes a paper because he may be presenting it in a conference.
I think that's where the fine line of distinction is required as to what is knowledge.
Yes.
I mean, this classic case of surgeons conducting a surgery and expecting that somebody else will learn that surgery is not pertaining to knowledge, it's a skill. So, I think that fine line, you have to split the hair there. Skill is not knowledge.
No, it's not, what I was talking is not the way he does it,
Okay,
but the learning he got out of that particular
the experience
case,
which...
out of that case.
Perfect, yep. I think
Because
that's
that will be important for diagnosis next time.
true, and this is again a problem. Nobody has the time
To write.
a lot of things.
I think that is the problem for participation.
I think in most organizations that is where the problem lies. It's not that no one wants to be part or impart the knowledge. It's all about you're so chasing so many other things that you don't have much time to spend on.
The priority is not there for
Yeah.
this.
I think that is where again we need to unlearn.
Yes, we are looking forward
I
to
think
your
we'll
session.
I mean, it's all about emails and meeting your targets and completing your.
And that is where you want the right information in
Immediately,
the smallest
yes.
possible time. Even without going there, it has to just come to you. People are expecting everything to come to you. And also, see, whenever we do a search, the example that you also said, we do not retire knowledge. So sometimes knowledge becomes irrelevant. but it's all already available there. So who retires that knowledge? We don't know. So when 10 tools come to me, if I'm looking for one tool, I know which is the best tool. Because the tool that was a previous version or probably in some other name sometime back is also there. So what is my reliability of the search that I get? So is it actionable? We still have a problem.
In one of the models